How's it feel being back in the birthplace of where Hacker Houses started, B?
Yeah, it's great. It's a bit empty. Uh, Thank you to everyone that showed up. I know this is not extremely technical talk, but should be fun. Uh, yeah.
It'll be fun. Speaking of, I know we mentioned that it's the 24th Hacker House that we wrapped up in 10 months. There actually were three others. I'd love to take us back to the conception and the birthplace, which we were at. B, you want to tell us a little bit about like how that idea
Yeah.
came about?
Yeah, so it was totally random. Me and
Was it a
Jordan.
coffee walk?
Yes.
Let's start there.
Yes, it was a coffee walk. Me and Jordan were in Chicago, and he was very sad that no one gave him a ticket to Solana Breakpoint because nobody cared. He was like, "You're not important enough. There's not enough tickets. Bottom line, you don't have it." Um, he couldn't stay in the house with everyone because he was like a second-class citizen. um, and he was like, there's a lot of people like that in the same situation because when we were doing capacity planning for last year, we somewhat underestimated the amount of interest with the growth of Solana. So what happened is the conference was for roughly like 2,000 people, and like I think like 3,000 showed up probably. So like 50% then had tickets, and before conference we predicted that. And most of the people that didn't buy the tickets were developers. So we were like, what do we do? And we figured out that we wanted to actually have a space where we could just continue with what we do normally in the office, which is have a bunch of monitors and type on the keyboard in between coffee walks. And this is what we did on this amazing coffee tables that were ready for the wedding.
So let's back it up a couple steps. How did you guys even find this place?
We didn't. So one thing that I think we are pretty good at is knowing that what we are bad at, which is most of the things. And we managed to recruit a couple of people to help us. One of them was Chico, for Lisbon specifically. So on Twitter, Jordan posted, hey, we would like to do this side event that will last for a couple of days. Who would be willing to help us with gathering money and local operation? And Chico, being local and very resourceful man, raised his hand and he was like, hey, I would like to help with that. And we managed to get this venue for cheap. I don't even know how much we paid for the venue. I think it was like $10,000, something like that, or two. We paid 2,000. So like, this is probably much more than $2,000. But we ran a like very cheap operation that actually managed to gather around enough funds that we were able to disperse them to developers that were coding as a set of prizes. So we were pretty happy about it. But we were very frugal for the first 3 hacker houses, where most of the time we actually managed to return money to the community, which I think was great.
So that was November last year. And then the second one was Miami?
Yes, that was in December. So we came back to Chicago, and we were surprised that it turned out so well. We had fun, and people in the community were like, hey, this is great. Looks like there's some branding around it, and we can continue doing that. What's funny enough, both for the Lisbon one and Miami one, people at Solana Labs and Solana Foundation didn't really like this. They were like, you guys are idiots. You shouldn't be doing this. People like online events. Nobody wants to see you in person. You're ugly. Uh, uh, and we were like, we don't care. Nobody wanted to give us money at Solana Foundation or Labs at the beginning. So all the money came from like this amazing community. We went with the like pan and just like pen held for money, like, hey, like, can you give us like 10,000 for this event that we are doing in Miami during Art Basel? And people did. So thank you everyone that sponsored those original hacker houses.
Well, we have a beautiful community for sure. So then we did Miami, and after that,
We did Chicago.
Chicago.
So Chicago was much bigger. That was like the beginning of the year. So after Miami, I think the social traction started gathering around this, and eventually it reached upper echelons of Solana Labs, and people were like, "This looks interesting. How about you guys turn it into something bigger?" And we were like, "Okay, like we can do a few of them." And they were like, "No, no, no, not a few of them. Let's do 40." And you're like, "It's a big number, but sure."
It's a huge number. And that's kind of, I think, about the timeline that I came into play, because Chicago actually was taking place my first week. So I've been with Solana Foundation almost 11 months. Next week will be 11 months.
Welcome, and thank you.
Yeah, no, it was fun. Literally came in, and I remember actually B and Jay and Ryan Shea were like my first phone call, and I was like, okay, tell me, like, what have we been doing? Tell me about these hacker houses. What is the concept? What have you? 40 came out of your mouth, and I thought, like, when I first came in, I was doing like 12, and I was like, 12 is a totally manageable number. When you said 40, I was like, excuse me. Let's talk about that. So we literally produced our first hacker house together in LA, and it was really interesting, like, thinking about that process, because based on the feedback that I got from you all on how we were going to structure it, it was very much us driving that agenda with a handful of people within the community. And then I remember a famous coffee walk. Anytime this man asks you to go on a coffee walk, usually there's some cool things that come out of it, and one of it was in Seattle, which was the second house, hacker house, which I produced after not even 4 weeks being at the company. B and I went on a coffee walk in Seattle and sat down and strategically talked through, like, how are we going to scale this? What does this look like? Where do we activate? Obviously, with you and Jay and others being in the community for a long time, you've gotten a lot of feedback. You knew where a lot of the devs were. But it was a little bit of an art and science, too. We strategically, obviously, placed ourselves around other conferences, kind of piggybacked off that, but also just really reached out to the community on where should we activate, which was really cool. And to say that we're sitting here in Lisbon a year later from when that concept happened, we've literally produced 24 hacker houses, actually 27, but 24 together in a 10-month span. We activated 18 different countries and got to meet some really awesome people within the community. And I'll have to say, like, not being biased, but I do think we have the most amazing community. Like, the Solana community is amazing. It's on fire. And to have, starting like even almost 11 months ago, being the ones that were driving the agenda, we have an insane outreach, and we've learned so much. And a lot of the pivots that we've made along the way from the agenda and the structure and what have you has all come from all of you, which is amazing. Our days are usually, it's a 5-day run, and the first day is really all things Solana, how to get started. We really kind of lean into the local market to understand where they're at from building. And then day 2, 3, and 4 is really about the community and what's important in the local country or state or wherever we are, which is really cool, and we lean into the community to run that. We also have office hours where you get an opportunity to meet with the brightest minds in Solana Foundation and labs to have that one-on-one time, as well as our partners. And then day 5 is really all about the community showing us what they built during that time or what they've been working on. And so cool to see how many teams have been formed together and like what they're working on, and meeting teams from the beginning of the journey to where we are today is like awesome. Any teams or anything you want to highlight based on your journey and seeing this all from concept to where we are, B?
Yeah, no, like there's a lot of teams that we saw from the doing like a lot of them. I think like Laddercaster did like how many? Like 12, 10? Okay, 13. So that's like a lot when you just think about the amount of like travel and everything. And one thing that originally at the beginning of the year we were talking internally was what's really important about those hacker houses and who do we want to attract. And there was this like contentious point of view, like should we attract repeat customers? Sorry for calling you guys customers, or like new customers. Which was somewhat like silly to me, and I was like, I always get annoyed by this like corporate discussions, because to me it was obvious like you kind of want to have a mix, and the people that keep coming back are the most valuable people in the community, because they one they make this event special, but also it means that there's something of value for them, so there's a return of investment for the money that we put in. And we were like, hey, like we should have less people coming back, and all like, it's like kind of weird. Like you open a store and you want someone to like come in and like just leave, and that's it. um, so that was funny. But again, thank you for the people that traveled to multiple of them and were on the journey with us.
Yeah, I mean, you truly are the magic. With that, we'd love to look. Could we throw up the photo of where we started, if possible?
No.
Kind of the first hacker house.
So when we were waiting, yeah, this was pretty crazy. So Jordan, I can talk to some of the photos and how the concept started. So those are one of my favorite shoes that are on fire. They, yeah, it was pretty sad moment.
Did any other shoes get burned at any other ones? Because I haven't seen that happen.
No, no.
And we're not burning shoes on the stage today.
We didn't burn more shoes. Those are my, like, I was calling them slippers of coding. Whenever I wanted to produce something of value, I would like put my slippers because they're more comfy. And Jordan forced me to burn them. Or actually, yeah, someone else burned them, but that was pretty sad. And we had prizes, so you can see that like this is amazing. We actually had like up to like $100,000 in prizes for building different things, and most of them were rewarded. And when you think how much Solana community changed from that single whiteboard to things that are being built, like most of the things on the whiteboard are actually built, and you can use them, and there's multiple teams actually getting funding for the things that are on the whiteboard. So that was like pretty amazing. And we try to repeat that same mentality. Sorry that we didn't get to do 40, but I think both me and Jordan would be dead, physically and mentally. I think that was like one of the mistakes that we overextended ourselves a bit, assuming that we could do them.
24 is still pretty impressive in a 10-month span.
Yeah, but yeah, yeah, 40, looking back, I think was a bit unrealistic.
Well, let's take a look at our journey. We have a little video we want to roll to show you just the compilation of where we started in LA all the way through Lisbon. Can we roll the video? So incredible. Not gonna lie, I get a little teary-eyed looking at that, but like the amount of building and conversations and connections that happened in this 11th month span is incredible. And I really saw that show up in Lisbon, like just this past week, kicking off with our hacker house. Just it was packed, the energy was there, and I feel that here at Breakpoint. And so I just want to say thank you to the community for allowing me to be a part of that journey and be bringing me on this wild ride. It's been amazing, and I'm super excited about next year. I know that Austin and others have actually talked about this. We actually have our lineup, which I'm really excited about. And a lot of this is just based on feedback from all of you. We've been working with internally with our DevRel team and our community and just really leaning into where the builders are. And so we're super excited to share the dates again. I know they have been shared, but we are going to be activating, as of right now, we have 10 different locations up here on the screen. It is live on our website. So if you go to Solana.com under community and events, you will see all of these hacker houses for next year live, which I'm really excited about. It's going to be a great year. B, is there like any location in particular that you're really excited about?
Yeah, there's quite a few that I personally think are awesome locations. So when I think about locations and how maybe I can talk a bit how we picked them for the previous year. So it was, I think, in December. I pulled Google Maps with Jordan on the phone call, and I also pulled a list of communities of like best developers in the world based on like different competitions. And then again, in somewhat of an unrealistic fashion, I was like, what if we just went on a continuous trip around the Earth, like following different cities, and then eventually come back? So we kind of tried that, and it didn't work out.
We kind of did, though.
Yeah,
Sitting in the
we
first
kind of
place.
did, but it wasn't continuous. So we were like, okay, we'll go to LA, Seattle. Then on the original map, like we were like, we'll go to Korea. From Korea, we would go to Singapore.
Thailand, actually.
There was like Thailand as
Yeah.
well. Then India, then Dubai, and then kind of like around the world for multiple weeks. And some of those plans couldn't be realized because of COVID. So we, like, I actually think if it wasn't for COVID, we might have done maybe like 30. Like I think Korea would have happened much sooner, and Thailand as well. But it was very tricky to work around regulation, like different regulation in different countries. It might not be obvious right now, but like January this year, there was still a lot of lockdowns.
Yeah, even all the way into March.
Yeah, even throughout the year, like Jordan was going to Japan, and Japan required, I think, him to get a visa with like COVID a month before, with like in-person visit to the consulate, like number of hops. So we were like, that's like unrealistic for a lot of people to actually travel to those locations. So some of them didn't happen.
Yep.
But if I look at the, can we bring back the list? Like the previous slide. No. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think Turkey, Istanbul was something that we originally discussed. It didn't make the list between Moscow and Dubai, but when you think on the map, if you are flying from Dubai to Moscow, that's kind of like a perfect line. We didn't like, so we are bringing it back this year. So this one is just awesome location. Southeast Asia is one of my favorite destinations, especially with our amazing team with Lydia there. Like Vietnam in Southeast Asia is like beautiful. So if you are thinking, okay, where should I go? And you are not in Southeast Asia, like plan for maybe a bigger trip. You can go to Cambodia, Malaysia, Thailand, and kind of visit things around the hacker house and meet us in Vietnam. Austin and New York from the US cities, those have amazing communities. Our time.
Our first Soul Ladies build
Yep.
house, which I'm really excited about.
So this is all thanks to Ellie. New York, super great in the summer. Super excited about the developer community, and the startup and crypto community in New York is amazing. So again, if you can make it to New York 100%, I will be there. My personal favorite probably is Tel Aviv. They have amazing devs. One of the newer people that joined Solana Labs, Tal, is from Tel Aviv. I think he's somewhere here. So you can ask him for the tips right there, how you should plan your trip in June. Um, Great devs, especially around the security. So super excited what will come out of this one. And then for me, maybe the last one, Berlin. Um, like last time when we were in Berlin, so fun story. We actually stopped in Berlin and we thought about doing a hacker house there. Um, Unfortunately, again, COVID restriction in Germany were very tricky. It was very hard to even spend a week there. So the way how we, on our like world tour at the beginning of the year, we actually ended up spending 5 days in Berlin, but without the hacker house. And the reason it happened is, unfortunate event with the war between Russia and Ukraine started, and we were asked to evacuate Moscow right after the hacker house started. The hacker house continued without me and Jordan. We only managed to spend few hours in Moscow, and we picked Berlin as the location to kind of like shelter from the war for a few weeks, for a few days, instead of going back to the US. Because we had this crazy idea. Originally, when you heard it, we were like, hey, we will also do this hacker train. What did you thought about this originally?
I thought it was a joke, but we made it happen. We actually did rapid train from Berlin to Prague, which was wild. But yeah, I think at that point I wasn't even 3 months in, and I couldn't tell when we had requests like, "Are we really? We're doing this," and we made it happen. Oh, and then on top of that, it was like we wanted to hack on the train, and we figured out the Wi-Fi, and we made it happen. But what an incredible journey! I know we're at time. I see the time up, but just definitely want to say thank you to our community. You all rock. Thank you for showing up. It takes a village to put these on. Thank you to all the teams that have helped us produce this. Whether you see them or not, there's a lot of events ninjas in the background, and we adore you. But thank you, Solana community. You all rock.
Thank you. And last thing, if you want to do quick office hours on the side with Jordan, you can grab him. He's waiting here to answer all your questions.
Thank you, everyone.